She's like a sickness in my brain, a vision standing by the window pane. She ripples through the blinds and leaves me in a daze. It's in the way her body moves me, the way she grabs me and intoxicates, until the signals in my mind forget to operate. I take my pleasure from my alcohol.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Coffee and Crime Time. And this is going to be a little bit of a different Coffee and Crime Time. This is going to be a different video than I had planned on making even just 2 days ago. This is a true crime channel and I try to work here based on facts and evidence. There's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to say, this isn't true crime. This is YouTube beauty community gossip and drama and scandal. And of course it is. But it goes much further than that for a lot of different reasons. Now, James Charles, if you don't know who he is a beauty YouTuber, a very popular beauty YouTuber, possibly, underneath the Jeffree Star, one of the biggest. James Charles has had a lot of issues and a lot of scandals and a lot of dark marks on his record since he hit the scene. I don't personally like his channel or him. I never have liked his channel or watched it, and I never will. However, I do like to be unbiased and fair and look at the facts and the evidence and look at everything that's laid out. And that's why I reserved my opinion and I reserved making this video until today. And I'm still sure that there's more that's going to come out. And I'm still sure that there's more that will reveal itself as time goes on. If you follow me on Twitter, I've made my opinion on James Charles clear in the past, and I even compared him to Andrew Cunanan recently because I think it's a legitimate and true comparison. James Charles is an egomaniac and a narcissist. He is very similar to Andrew Cunanan in his personality, his attitude, the way that he views himself in the world, in my opinion. Allegedly, don't come for me. I'm going to try to give you a quick breakdown of the drama and the allegations against him, and then I'll tell you what I think about all of it. This all broke recently when Tati Westbrook of Glam Life Guru, who is also a very popular beauty YouTuber, put out an over 40-minute long video about James Charles and how she was basically cutting ties with him. What basically ended up happening between the two of them was she was his mentor on YouTube. He had come to her initially before he was a big YouTuber and basically told her, I look up to you, you're the reason I started YouTube, and she took him under her wing. I do believe that she's a good person. I enjoy Tati. I have watched Tati for a long time, and I will continue to. She's got a great channel. She's good people. But she took him under her wing. She's older than him. It was more of a mother and son relationship, a parental figure, and she wanted to, make sure he did the right things to further his channel, that he had some sort of help in the arena, and she gave him this help. She gave him this help to the extent where she flew him out to LA to do her makeup for her wedding and put him on her YouTube channel. As a result, he got more subscribers. She would constantly shout him out in her videos, telling people to use his code for things so that she was putting money in his pocket. She says that she and her husband, who's also named James, helped him basically leverage a deal with Morphe by using another deal that they'd gotten him so that he could get paid through Morphe what he thought he was worth getting paid. And from what I gather, she was a crying shoulder for him, a soundbox for him. When he had issues or concerns or questions, she would be the one that he would go to. Besides being a YouTuber, Tati has a vitamin line that's called Harlowe Beauty. She's worked very hard and long on this product. She's very proud of it. I hear it works great. But James really never shouted Tati out as much as she shouted him out, and he didn't really endorse her vitamin brand. He had told her that the reason he didn't want to do that was because the majority of his audience are young. I think they're the 12 to 17 demographic. So he thought it would be irresponsible to market vitamins to his young audience. That brings us to a few weeks ago. James went to Coachella. According to him, he had some issues with security, and another vitamin brand called Sugar Bear Hair stepped in and helped him out with security. And because he was so grateful for that help, he did an Instagram story shouting them out, and at the end, of course, swipe up if you're interested in these vitamins so that people could purchase that. And he used hashtag sponsor in the Instagram video, so we know it was a sponsorship. Now, obviously, this Sugar Bear Hair company is a direct competitor of Tati's Halo Beauty, and she was upset and offended that he told her he didn't feel comfortable marketing her product to his audience, but he was comfortable marketing Sugar Bear Hair. And I agree, because Sugar Bear Hair vitamins, they're like gummies, and they're shaped like, gummy bears. They're shaped like teddy bears. They're basically made completely with sugar. They're really not that good for you. They're not a good brand. The vitamins specifically that he talked about in his Instagram story were to basically help him sleep. He said he was dealing with a lot of anxiety, which wasn't fun or fresh. And in order to help him relax and unwind from that, he would take these nighttime Sugar Bear vitamins, and it helped him greatly, and he was appreciative. So she was annoyed and upset that he felt comfortable marketing these kinds of gummies, which are like anxiety reducing and sleep inducing, I guess, to children, when he didn't feel comfortable marketing her vitamins, which do have good things in them and are good for you, to his audience. She also said that he had made it very clear in the past to her that he did not like the brand Sugar Bear Hair and didn't think that they were good, and he just wasn't on board for it. He wasn't a fan. As a result of this personal betrayal, she came out with this video and said, I'm done. I can't stay quiet anymore, and basically just unloaded everything. Some of the things she said in that video, I was like, what? Like, I was shocked, guys, when she was talking in this video, because Tati's always been a really nice person. She seems to stay out of drama. She seems to be, for the most part, unproblematic and doesn't really get wrapped up into this stuff. But she unloaded everything. She spilled all the tea, and I was proud of her, because, you need to stand up for yourself. After, according to her, months of, seeing that there was an issue, of seeing that he was going the wrong way and has been in drama after drama after drama, she finally had had enough. One of the things she said in her video, which stuck out to a lot of people, was the fact that James, who has made it very clear before, as a gay man, he likes straight men. He goes after straight men. He's attracted to straight men. That's the kind of guy he likes. He's made that very clear before on his own. And she said that they were out to dinner on Valentine's Day for her birthday. Her family was there, her family friends. James was there because he was her friend. And the waiter who was serving them, James kept making comments to him, inappropriate comments, which she was embarrassed of because her family and her family friends were there, very crude things. And James is like that. He will say things that I would never say if my audience was between the ages of 12 and 17, that's for sure. But at one point she looked at him and said, he's straight, and James said, it doesn't matter because I'm a celebrity. This coming on the heels of a young man named Gage, who made a video about James Charles basically last week, I believe, saying that he had been talking to James on social media. James offered him a ticket to Coachella to be there with him. And this Gage kid flew out there to Coachella, paid for by James Charles. His, the place he was staying was paid for by James Charles. His whole trip was basically funded by James Charles. And it was said that they were holding hands and kissing. But then Gage said, I'm not gay, and, I don't want a relationship with you, which hurt James, and he went crazy on social media talking about how people will use you. And then Gage had to come out saying, no, I didn't use him. I was just exploring my sexuality, and then realized I was not gay. So then I didn't feel the need to continue a relationship with him. So for the past couple of days, I'm over here like, yeah, James Charles, predator, right? He's a predator. Many men have come forward and said that James does similar things to them. Even though they say that they're straight, he continues trying to flatter them and, say sexually inappropriate things to them. And they, in turn, will tell them that they're straight, and he doesn't care. He takes it almost as a challenge to see how straight are they. And I think that's absolutely horrible. Straight, gay, bisexual, it doesn't matter. If somebody tells you they're not interested, that should be it. That should be it. Especially when it's somebody like James Charles, who has a lot of influence, who has a lot of subscribers, who has a lot of money and a lot of fame and a lot of power in the industry. You might find that people have a harder time saying no to you. You might also find that people will try to get close to you in order to take advantage of the things you have. So I'm over here thinking, yeah, he's a predator. But now I saw a video this morning from the waiter at Tati's birthday dinner that James was hitting on, and who Tati told James he's straight. And James said, I don't care, I'm a celebrity. Now the waiter says that he was aware of the fact that James had been staring at him and was interested in him. And he reached out to James on Instagram and DM'd him and said, hey, it's the waiter, from the restaurant. And James was like, oh, sorry, I just thought you're really cute. And the guy claims that he was bi-curious, so he was exploring his sexuality. So he voluntarily went to James's hotel room. They made out for an hour, and then he left, and afterwards decided he wasn't gay at all. And when James wanted to fly him to LA to spend time with him, the kid said, oh, you know what, I'm not gay, but let's be friends, and you can still fly me to LA if you want, if you understand that it's a friendship basis. I don't want anybody to think that I am victim blaming in any way, shape, or form. You guys know, if you're familiar with me and my videos, that I am a victim's advocate. I don't have any patience for sexual predators. I don't have any patience for anybody who victimizes another person, especially if they're using their power, their privilege, or their money to do so. But once again, I deal with facts and evidence. As far as I'm concerned at this point, James Charles has not done anything illegal. What he's doing may be obnoxious and pushy and even bordering on harassment at times, but he has not done anything illegal. He is not proven to be a predator, a sexual predator at this point. However, I know that James Charles is also a compulsive liar. He basically started his entire career based on a lie. When he was still in high school, he told the story that he'd taken his prom picture, but then he didn't like it and he wanted it retaken with him wearing makeup. And so he claimed that he actually went and did his own makeup and then made them retake the picture. It got him on the Ellen Show. It got him in with CoverGirl. He was touted as being an innovator, a pioneer, and being on the forefront of basically showing people that men can wear makeup. That's okay. He wanted to make it more socially acceptable. And I applaud that. I love makeup. I think anybody who wants to wear makeup should be able to wear makeup. I don't care who wears makeup. It doesn't bother me or affect my life at all, so why would I care? However, then it came out later that he had photoshopped the picture. It was all a lie, and he was exposed. Then he made some comments about how he was traveling to Africa and made a joke about how he thought he was going to get Ebola. That was another scandal. Everybody kept saying, he's young, he's 17, he's 18, he's young, he'll learn, he'll grow. But he never did. He just developed into a very narcissistic, egotistical person. I don't know if he developed into that or if it was always in his personality, if he was always like that. I have a feeling that that's probably more the case, that he was just always like that. And it just became more apparent as more and more people began watching him. He's never been somebody who censors himself. He's never been somebody who's thought, maybe I shouldn't say this because it can affect me later or it can be used against me. Maybe I shouldn't say this because it's an uneducated and stupid thing to say and it will make me look bad. He's never been that kind of person. And then the whole tour thing where he said he was going on tour and his VIP tickets were like $500. I tweeted about that. I said maybe I would pay like $500 to see Lady Gaga or Beyonce or something in concert. But James Charles, like, who do you think you are to be charging that much money to see you on tour? What exactly do you have to offer that's worth $500? But once again, that's not a big deal to me. You can charge whatever you want and people can pay whatever they want for it if they choose to pay it. But once again, we have the issue that the majority of his viewers are young kids who either don't have a lot of money because they're working part-time or have no money and have to use their parents' money because they're too young to even have a job. So now you have the issue where you're basically dangling something that these kids really want in front of their faces because you're their god, essentially. And they're either going to beg their parents relentlessly to buy this ticket, or they are going to spend every cent that they have working at like McDonald's or Starbucks for the last month in order to see you. And then what are you going to give them? What are you going to give them that's worth the $500+ that they spent? So that was a big issue. It's been issue after issue after issue. And now we've got this whole James Charles is a predator. He preys on straight men even though he knows that they're not gay and even though they've told him that they're straight. Everybody's saying James Charles is canceled. James Charles has been canceled to me for a long time. I just don't like watching him because I think that his narcissism oozes out of every single pore. Like, it's pretty difficult to watch him and not get the sense that this kid thinks he's better than everybody else. And I just don't like that. I like more relatable, down-to-earth people. Now most of his old friends, essentially, and celebrities and all these people stopped following him on Instagram. People are speaking out against him. Jeffree Star tweeted something like he wasn't allowed at their house, or he's been banned from their house, him and his boyfriend Nathan's house, because of things that he's done that made them uncomfortable. And here's my question in the end. I don't think that James Charles is guilty or innocent of these charges. I don't know enough at this point. to make that decision or to make that call. However, I have to wonder if James Charles had declined the Sugar Bear hair deal, if he had promoted Tati's vitamins instead, would this have ever come out, or would it have not come out for much longer? I'm not sure how long people who were around him knew that he was doing this or were uncomfortable with it, but I'm sure it was longer than this past week. So why now? Why is it all coming out now? And now we're going to have all these other people come out of the woodwork who have their own James Charles story to tell. In my opinion, the waiter who went out of his way to contact James Charles after knowing that James Charles was interested in him, who went to his hotel and proceeded to make out with him and then afterwards said, no, I'm not gay, he really doesn't have much of a leg to stand on at this point. And then at the end of his video, he showed himself on FaceTime with James while somebody else recorded it without James knowing. And he basically was like, oh, you were talking to Gage at the same time that you were talking to me? And James was like, yeah, so what? You know, maybe you were probably talking to other people too. And the guy was like, no, I wasn't. Why does it matter to you? Why does it matter to you if you insist that your only romantic relationship or intimate relationship with him ended that night you left his hotel and wanted to just be friends? Why was that still an issue when you talked to him on the phone later? I think James Charles is at fault for this happening. The majority of the fault needs to fall on him because he knew how big he was on YouTube. He knew what kind of following he had and that he was very popular and basically a celebrity on YouTube. So when that happens and when you're that kind of person, you have to be careful with who you talk to and who you share yourself with. You can't just be, sending messages to every Tom, Dick, and Harry asking if they want to come to your hotel room, because they might do it, but then later they might turn on you and they're going to keep all the screenshots, which these people do. They're going to keep all the screenshots. They're going to record themselves talking to you on FaceTime and you don't even know you're being recorded. And then they're going to use it to try to build their platform. Now this kid, this waiter kid, he says, I don't care. I'm not trying to be famous, but we don't know what his true intentions are. All I know is that it wasn't James continually reaching out to him and harassing him and saying, you're gay, come and be with me. The kid reached out to James and voluntarily went to his hotel room and then afterwards decided, that wasn't for him. He wasn't gay after all and wanted to continue a friendship with James Charles, which would have him being flown out to LA and take advantage of, all the things that being friends with James Charles has to offer, I suppose. I'm always suspicious of everybody's motives. And although I will admit that I don't think James Charles is a good person, I think my Andrew Cunanan comparison was spot on. He definitely hasn't done things that are on the up and up. He's, like I said, a known liar. The fact that he would promote Sugar Bear hair after telling people that he didn't even believe in the brand shows you how much he can be trusted as far as an influencer goes. At this point, I have not seen anything that he's done with proof, with tangible proof and receipts, that is illegal. Morally wrong, yes, but illegal, no. And to me, this is very reminiscent of the R. Kelly situation. How long did R. Kelly get away with what he was doing? Because the people around him didn't speak up. People around him who knew for years what he was doing, what he was up to, who said they felt uncomfortable with it, who said they never thought it was right, but didn't start saying that until it all blew up and started coming out. And then they wanted to distance themselves from the situation. We can and should blame James Charles for his behavior. His inability to understand that I'm not gay means I'm not gay, stop hitting on me. We should blame him for that. But we should also blame the other people who claim that they've known this and have not spoken out against it. And I'm sure behind the scenes, they were telling him, this is messed up, dude. You've got to stop it. You're going to get yourself in trouble. Maybe they just thought he would grow out of it. Maybe they thought if he was told enough times by people that cared about him, he would get it. Maybe they kept silent out of a misguided sense of loyalty to him. But how much of a predator is he? Or how dangerous of a predator did you think he was if you stayed silent? Obviously, this is no shade to anybody. Tati, I love Tati. Jeffree Star. His makeup line is everything to me. He is literally, between Tati, Kathleen Lights, and Jeffree Star, these are the only three people that I watch who I trust their opinions on makeup, because Jeffree Star can't be bought by anybody. Tati's always been straight up and has never steered me wrong. And Kathleen Lights, I mean, come on, the girl's a sweetheart and is literally gorgeous. So anything she's doing, I want to do. It's no shade on Jeffree and Tati for staying silent, because I don't know how long they knew. I don't know how long they were aware of the situation. And it's possible that they could have been distancing themselves from James for quite some time. The fact of the matter is that James always wants to tell people that he's so mature. He had to grow up so fast because of his, overnight fame, essentially. But he is not mature at all. He's a child still. He's a child, and he tries to pretend that he's not. And when he doesn't get his way, he gets pissy and whiny. And yes, I've seen the texts and the messages that he sent to Gage basically telling him, I want you to be quiet about this after the Coachella incident. I don't want you to tell people what happened. I don't want you to speak your truth. And when Gage said he was probably going to make a video and probably going to go public with it, James got very upset and demanding and harassing and would not let it be, just in the end making himself look worse. Is it possible that James Charles is a predator or has a problem with going after men who make it clear that they don't want to be gone after? Yes, very, very possible. But at this point, it hasn't been proven that he's done anything illegal. And the beauty community is like that, though. The beauty community is very, very sensitive to when people act in an uncouth way. And I like that about them. So when something happens, somebody says a word they shouldn't say in a Snapchat, or somebody says a word they shouldn't say in tweets from, 6 years ago, the beauty community will still hold that person responsible for what they said and did 6 years ago. And as it should be, they should be held responsible for something they said 6 years ago if that something was inappropriate and wrong. And that's really what I've always loved about the beauty community, plus the drama that's always happening. It's fun, it's light, it takes me away from the darker stuff that I cover here. So I enjoy watching drama videos and beauty guru videos because they're so on the polar opposite end of what I deal with and look into and research and talk about every day. So I do enjoy it for that. And I do know that you pretty much can't get away with anything in the beauty community without your stuff being thrown all over and people just exposing you left and right. I'm going to wait and see what happens. I'm going to wait and see what comes out. I stand by my statement that James Charles is not somebody I will ever watch. I stand by my statement that I do think he's a narcissist and an egomaniac, that he has behavioral problems, that he might have some emotional problems. I believe that with his huge ego comes an incredibly low self-esteem, which is often the case. And that also worries me, though, because he is getting a lot of hate. He's lost over 2 million subscribers. People are going at him, and not in a lighthearted way. Like, I go at James Charles lightheartedly on Twitter. I'm not going after him and calling him names. The Andrew Cunanan comparison was literally as bad as it got. I go after him in a lighthearted way. But people are going after him in a hard way. And I worry that somebody like that who has no support system where he lives in LA, he doesn't have a strong sense of character, I don't think he's strong enough mentally to handle the kind of hate he's getting. And I worry that, it could go very badly. But it's a pretty strong example of how the mob mentality can take over, not just in YouTube, but in society, in our world. It's very easy to jump on the bandwagon to hate somebody and make assumptions without having all the facts because everybody else is doing that. So you assume because everybody else is doing that, they know something you don't. So you might as well just go along with that because if all these people are doing it, if the majority of the people on YouTube right now hate James Charles, then you should too because that's the right thing to do. I also disagree with the people who have said that his mother is at fault somehow, and I don't know what kind of relationship they have. And obviously, his parents are responsible for the way he's turned out in some way, shape, or form. But a lot of people are saying his mother needs to go to LA and live with him because he needs the guidance. He's 19 years old, guys. We don't know what their relationship is or what's going on. She could very well have been begging James for months to come and live with him, and she may want to be there with him, but he's 19 years old. He's an adult. If he says, no, Mom, I don't want you living with me because then I can't bring straight guys home anymore. If he's saying that, she can't force herself on him. He's an illegal adult and she can't make him do something that he doesn't want to do. And if I know James Charles, I'm sure he doesn't want his mommy living with him in LA and watching everything he's doing. It's a slippery slope when we get into these kinds of situations in YouTube, in life, where somebody's doing something that could be perceived a certain way, but may not always be the case. There's always two sides to every story, and there's always things that we don't know. Honestly, like I said, I'm not victim shaming, but the waiter who knew James was hitting on him and messaged him and voluntarily went to his hotel and then made out with him for an hour has really no leg to stand on at this point. And I'm sorry if you're upset by that. I'm sorry if it's an unpopular opinion. It shows that James has a tendency to go after guys who are not always available to him. It shows that James has a tendency to bully people and use his influence and his power in order to try to get what he wants, which is awful. You know I hate that. R. Kelly did the same thing. There's so many men in Hollywood, like Kevin Spacey, they're all being accused of doing the same thing. I don't like that. It's not right. But nobody forced him to go to that hotel. Nobody took a gun and held it to his head and brought him to that hotel and then made him kiss James Charles for an hour. We need to start looking at everything in a more suspicious manner. We always need to question everybody's motives. We need to question what everybody has to gain from their part in this situation, in this drama. We can't just blindly hear somebody's side and say that's the right side or that's the true side. Once again, James Charles definitely has some issues. He clearly will sell his soul to the highest bidder. He will pretty much suggest anything to his young fans as long as he's getting paid enough. He thinks that he is the most famous person in the world, which, come on, dude. You are not the most famous person in the world. Half the time, outside of YouTube, people don't even know who you are. I'm sure there's people watching this video that have no idea who he is. You're not the most famous person in the world. You don't get away with things, and you don't get to force things on people that they don't want just because you know you have the influence to possibly persuade them or coerce them to do what you want. And if unchecked, this kind of personality characteristic, it will get him into a lot of trouble. It will get him into things that will destroy his career that he's built and worked so hard and so long for. It will end him, just like it ended R. Kelly's career, just like it ended Kevin Spacey's career. It will end him. I don't support James Charles. I don't support his channel, but I am of the mindset that we should reserve our opinions on the entire situation until all the stuff has come out, and it keeps coming out more and more every day. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Gage kid, the one who went to Coachella with him, made Rich Lux pay him for the interview. And I don't know if Rich Lux is just being funny, but I'm pretty sure it's true. Like, he had to pay for that interview. And it wasn't even a real interview. It was like over text message that he just answered questions, which is ridiculous because you're now monetarily benefiting from a situation that you said you weren't comfortable with and that you weren't using to get more followers or to get more attention. If it had been me and I felt that I was being harassed or pressured by somebody in the industry and I wanted to expose them, I wouldn't charge somebody to ask me questions. I would want to get my story out there at all costs. I would want everybody to know the truth at all costs, and not the cost that meant it was paying me or I was getting some money out of it. So that's just my opinion. But the facts and the evidence are important to me, and we don't have all the facts yet, and we don't really have a lot of evidence. So let's just see what happens. All right, guys, I'm going to end this here. Let me know what you think in the comments. Try to be respectful to me, to James. You know, you can say you don't like James because that's an opinion, but let's not call anybody names because that's not what we're about here. Stay kind and stay beautiful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Whoa, no, no.